हाय प्यार है दुनिया तो मुकदा ही जावे पत्थर इंसान बनदा ही जावे।
उनको तुमसे दोस्ती में कोई दिलचस्पी नहीं। तुम एक सीढ़ी थी जिसे इस्तेमाल कर वो मुझ तक पहुंचना चाहते थे।
मुझे तुमसे मिलना है।
मेरी मजबूरी समझो मंसूर, मैं घर से नहीं निकल सकती।
क्यों आंख से खेल रहा है यार तू?
मैं अच्छी तरह जानता हूँ कि मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ।
मेरी जिंदगी के फैसले लेने की आजादी तुम मुझे दोगे? तुम मुझे यहाँ क्यों लाए?
Because for all those months I was really far away. I didn't feel the speed, but it was only just before landing that I felt the speed. I don't know if they'll get to see that or not, but hopefully they do.
Well, and it's incredible to consider, obviously, you yourself have this experience they're about to have it. So few people, though, to this point have. And obviously, the aim, ultimately, of this mission is to make advancement enough that this becomes something that is much more frequent, that we have a permanent base on the moon, that people are constantly shuttling back and forth to. Would you describe this mission as having been a major step forward in the aim of ultimately achieving that? How much faster will things be able to move from here if it's taken us half a century to get back to just this point?
Well, I hope a lot faster. This program was really born under George W. Bush after the Space Shuttle Columbia accident. He had his vision for space exploration. That became Constellation. That got canceled, not canceled. That turned into Artemis. And so there's been a lot of political wrangling, and it's been a mess. And so finally we're flying again. The new NASA administrator had I thought a great kind of light of fire speech under folks at NASA. We're going to start flying a lot more often, and he's absolutely right about that. So hopefully the NASA's date is next year. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but the next flight will be with the landers in Earth orbit, and then the flight after that will be with a moon lander that will actually go to the moon and land on the moon. We'll see how many years that takes to do. SpaceX and Blue Origin are the two contractors for those landers, but it has taken too long to get here. When I was a little kid seeing the Apollo astronauts, I read about the ancient history of Apollo, and that's what made me want to be an astronaut, and here we are later. So I'm excited. This is a great first step. There's going to be a lot more test flights and then finally landing on the moon. And I think we have some momentum. Like Austin Powers said, we have our mojo back.
Well, and mojo is always a good thing, Colonel. When you consider and observe the mission with the lens that you are able to do so with, having expertise and experience that a lot of us don't have, was there anything glaring to you that stood out that might need to be addressed before that next mission next year, before we get to the landers or for our next, crewed launches that we may be considering? Are there, or frankly, just any issues in your mind, or of course we have to consider the heat shield as well, and whether we identify any issues there, God forbid not, on reentry?
Yeah. So the one glaring thing for me is that nothing's gone wrong. I mean, they had a minor hiccup with the toilet, but that's a complicated spaceship. The SLS is a complicated rocket. They still need that was the big multi-million-pound rocket that launched them last week. So we still need to review all the data from that. But there hasn't been, a computer failure or a big piece of equipment failure. Everything's been going well so far. So knock on wood, the next few hours. As you mentioned, the heat shield really is the big question. So it had problems on the last flight. They're coming back at a different angle that will hopefully cause less heating problems on this flight. They're going to redesign it a few missions down the road. So let's see how this new trajectory works out. That's the big concern. Also, the parachutes need to come out. So we've tested the Orion many times. The parachutes have always done great. So I expect everything to go well. But you never, as a pilot, we're superstitious creatures. It's not over. We used to say in airplanes, it's not over until the wheels stop. So it's not over until they're on the John Murtha Navy vessel, which is pretty cool to see the U.S. Navy grabbing our astronauts, American and Canadian astronauts today. That hasn't happened since Apollo.
Yeah, well, and your point is well taken, Colonel, that this is American and Canadian astronauts here. This is something